Hi, so we're in the middle of kind of installing our LEMP stack here. So our next thing is to configure nginx to use PHP. So we have Linux installed, we have nginx installed, we have MySQL installed, we have PHP installed, and now we're ready to get nginx and PHP to work together to serve web pages. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and we are going to open up a connection to our web server. Okay, you can use PuTTY or other console and log in to our remote machine. This is Ubuntu 16.04. Ours is on Amazon Web Services, but yours could be anywhere. Any Ubuntu 16.04 should be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to edit this directly. Now how this works is that there's an etc folder, okay, etc. It has nginx inside of it. And inside nginx has a sites available folder, and then there's a default. Okay, default is like if you don't have any domains, separate domains on your web server, default is loaded with the IP address. Okay, so you're going to notice that that essentially what's going to happen here is that we are just setting up a sample website. Okay, so we're just using the IP address. We're not actually setting up a domain name, which is easy enough to do. Okay, but for our case, we're just going to be using an IP address. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy that and paste it. So we're going to open up in Nano. So we're going to act as the admin user, sudo. We're going to run the program Nano, and we're opening up this default website definition file for nginx. Okay. All right, we're going to hit enter, and we give our password for sudo. Okay, so notice that there are just a couple places that we need to edit here. The first place that we're going to go is we're actually going to keep the root the same. In a lot of cases, you would be changing this root. For our purposes, we're not. In fact, we're going to make it as easy as possible, and just leave it as is. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is add a index.php into this list as is specified above. Notice we keep our spaces correct. Okay, the server name. Notice that we're going to add our IP address here. So our IP address is this right here. Okay, now in PuTTY it automatically copies, and I just pasted it. If you are in Linux console, you would Control-Shift-C and Control-Shift-V to copy and paste. Okay, and then finally, so we added our server name in, and that's just going to be our IP address. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to this area down here. Now notice that this already has all the things we want to add in here. Okay, so really what we can do is we can just remove the comments on these lines, but you have to make really certain that it's correct. Okay, so notice that we're going to add this fastcgi-php.config, so include snippets /fastcgi.php config. The other one we want to add is the php at 7.0 fpm.sock. Okay, and that's going to be down at the bottom here. Okay, and notice that because we enabled this location here, we also want to remove that. So basically what it's saying is that anything, anywhere in the home directory, right, that you get a PHP file, it's essentially going to feed that to the PHP processor. That's basically what this is saying here. Okay, but we need to get all of it right because there are different ways to run PHP. In our case, we're running a fast CGI version of PHP, which we specified there. Okay, next one, we're going to add this location here. Okay, and that just makes it a little bit more secure. All right, so there we have it. Okay, all right, we are good to go. So we go to Control X for exit, and we do want to save the buffer, so we do yes, and then we hit enter to write out the file. And there we go. Okay, and then we're going to test the configuration. So if we made some mistakes, nginx in that configuration file, basically what will happen is nginx won't run. And it's a really common way to have errors, especially if you have a lot of websites. So this one nginx installation, you could have, n number of websites, any number of websites running on it. And it has to load all of their configuration files, and all of the configuration files have to be correct for it to launch. So it's a very good idea to test those. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so syntax is okay, and the test was successful, which is great. And then we're going to go ahead and reload. So we're going to go sudo system control reload nginx, and there we have it. Okay, so finally, what we're going to do, so we've configured it, right? We've run the whole thing. We've installed everything. We should have nginx working together with PHP. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to make our first web page. Okay, so notice that we're going to make a file. See where it is, the var www HTML. Okay, so notice that matches our home folder for our default website. Okay, so our default website, the root folder, is in var www HTML, and that's where we're editing this PHP file. Notice it has a PHP extension. Okay, so we're going to control, and then we're going to paste that in. Whoops. Okay, so notice that if I just exit out of Nano just real quick, when I pasted, I accidentally pasted a carriage return, which launched Nano. So notice that if I hit the up arrow, I can get to my last thing I typed in. So notice I'm just launching Nano as the super user, and we're editing a PHP file inside of the root of our default website. Okay, the root folder I'm in. Okay, so when you do a new file with Nano, it's just blank. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and then paste in this PHP. So notice it's open PHP tag, right? So, less than sign, and then question mark PHP, and then PHP info. Okay, that's the PHP I'm going to call. And then you don't need a closing tag if it's the last one in the file. So hit exit. Yes, we want to write the buffer, and we want to write it to file name we gave originally. Okay, so now we should have, in theory, we should have this /info. So we're going to go back to our test site here. So remember, this was our IP address. We're going to add /info.php and hit enter. And it worked. Okay, so here's what we got. So basically what we have is we have a nginx, we have a LEMP stack running at this IP address. It created this we created this info.php, so it called the info command for PHP, and this is the page that it generates. And this gives us all kinds of details about our server. All right. Now, it's not a great idea to leave this up. So this would give a potential malicious user some information about our server, right? So we don't want to leave this running. Really what we want to do here is that we want to go ahead and remove this file. It's easy enough to create, and there's really no reason to leave it up there. We aren't going to need it, but it's a good test when you first run your web server. Okay, so there we go. And the last thing we're going to do is just remove it. So we're going to do sudo rm and then the name of the file. And there we have it. So notice now if I try to reload it, the file's gone and it gives us a 404 error. Okay, welcome to nginx. Okay, so there we have it. There's our configuration. You'll find the instructions in the comments, and best of luck.